beginning of this year, I spent about 2 to 3 months renovating this entire basement space from a creepy basement to a really pretty, but now severely underused finished basement. And now it is finally time to turn this very pretty, basically glorified storage space into a usable basement space, starting with, oh, I thought the wall was so much closer than it actually was. This nook right here. So the goal for this half of the basement is to become a training space and a home gym. And right now our home gym is actually in a spare bedroom upstairs, and we'd love to reclaim that bedroom for some other things. But before we can do that, we need to move that giant IMAX theater of a TV that's living in the home gym downstairs. Like, I'm 5'1". That TV is almost as big as I am. There's not that much space between me and the ceiling, and I would love to create some sort of floating cabinet, because since there's gonna be a gym here and there's gonna be sweat and like gross stuff on the floor, I'd like to be able to easily clean under said cabinet. This one is gonna be an adventure, friends, so let's get started. This video is sponsored by my friends at DAP Products. I think for Christmas, I would like to be a solid foot taller. It would make unloading all this stuff and loading it so much easier. It is an understatement to say I'm so excited to be back on the channel building some furniture. Are you kidding me? It's been a while. Let's get started, starting with cutting down all of my 3/4 inch pieces of plywood into manageable pieces. All of my plywood pieces are ripped down. I have 4 strips of plywood at 18 inches wide, and then I have 2 left over at 12 inches wide. So originally I was gonna be making this cabinet with completely closed storage, but I think visually it might be more interesting to keep the center panel as open shelving. So instead of going out and purchasing 1/4 inch plywood, my goal with any project I do is to waste as little material as possible. 1, for cost reasons, 2, for just like sustainability reasons. I always feel bad buying tons of plywood and then not using it. So I think I'm gonna leave the shelving open, but instead of doing a 1/4 inch backer, I'm going to use the leftover 12 inch pieces to make like a backer on the center one, but then like put a shelf in between so that it looks like a solid back, but it's not 1/4 inch, but it's 3/4. I feel like that makes sense in my head, and it'll make more sense as we continue to build. But before I get ahead of myself, we do have to cut these pieces down into my actual cabinet boxes. I say this all the time, friends. Making cabinets seems so scary. I promise it's not. We're just making a series of a bunch of boxes and then like screwing them together. So let's cut some stuff. For friends who ask, this is a piece of foam board insulation, and this allows me to cut my wood without cutting into my table because the blade will hit the foam instead of the table. So highly recommend. All right, so while I was able to do kind of like the bulk cutting on my table saw, I really just wanted to be able to cut these pieces of plywood into more manageable pieces that I then cut down to their perfect size using a circular saw with a track. Now, in terms of measurements, I do have printable plans available for this on my website. I will link them below this video if you are interested in building this particular cabinet, but it's just a bunch of boxes. That's it. That's all it is. Also, check this thing out. Isn't this cool? Honest Hand Studio makes these, and they're rad. Now for thinner pieces like the supports, I did go back to my table saw, but you could technically cut these with a circular saw if you don't have a table saw, and that goes for kind of any of this, to be honest. I'm gonna start labeling all of these, and then once they're labeled, I'm gonna start edge banding, and you know your girl just loves edge banding so much. The front side of all of those panels, the front side of all of those panels, 3 out of 4 sides on these, and then luckily just 2 of these. So I'm gonna do that, and then we're gonna call it a day. Wish me luck. As tedious as edge banding is to put on, it just looks so nice. Like, look at the difference between this and that. That looks like a solid piece of wood versus plywood. I like to streamline this as best as I can. I'm going to edge band everything first, and then once that's edge banded and put on, I'll then trim and sand it later just to help blend this like harsh seam into the wood. I think one of my next investments needs to be that machine that does the edge banding for you, because this is a lot. I think that's all she wrote right now. Well, I have good news and bad news. The good news is I'm done with edge banding for today. The bad news is I'm done with edge banding for today because I literally ran out of edge banding. Like, all I was able to get done is this pile here. I still have to do these two piles here. So I am going to spend my morning sourcing edge banding and then come back here tomorrow afternoon, finish edge banding, and hopefully start assembling some cabinet boxes. So see you tomorrow, friends. Okay, bye. All right, friends, your girl was not messing around. I overnighted myself some edge banding, and I'm gonna get to work doing the cabinet doors and all of the sides that I missed. I am not going to waste any time showing more edge banding because I cannot think of anything more boring than focusing another 2 minutes of this video on me edge banding. Well, that's a lie, actually. Sanding drywall is probably non-arguably worse, but let's get some edge banding on, and we're gonna cue the movie magic. Let's go. So some of this plywood isn't the best. Like, this one has some weird edges, so we're gonna fill that in with some of my favorite wood filler, Das plastic wood, and we are going to let that dry, sand it, and then it'll look good as new. So you know your girl loves a good multitask, so while the wood filler was drying, I moved on to drilling pocket holes in the top pieces and the bottom pieces of each one of these cabinets, and then it was time to glue them together and make some boxes using DAP's Weldwood Professional Wood Glue, which is literally my go-to wood glue for every single project. I absolutely love it. Now, quick thing I just want to note here while we are gluing and screwing these pieces together is twofold. One, you definitely do not need pocket holes for a project like this. You can use wood screws and wood glue just as well, especially because the boxes are going to be connected in a way that you'll never see the fasteners anyway. But if you do use the pocket holes, for me personally, I like making sure that they're hidden and you can't see them. So putting them on the top and the bottom of the cabinet makes it so that it looks like these cabinets have internal joinery and you'll literally never see them ever. Okay, well, that's a lie. You'll see them if you climb underneath the vanity and stare really closely at the bottom of the cabinet, so just like don't do that, you know what I mean? We got one, we got two, we got three. Woo! Not too shabby. Let's hang out. End of day wrap up. I'm taking my time with this build, which like is kind of annoying, but also like kind of refreshing. Typically, I'm trying to rush through some stuff to get some videos out, but I just feel like I want this to look really good. As you can see though, we got 3 cabinets. These 2 back here are the ones that the doors are going on. This one is the open shelving. The other cabinets have supports to hang on the wall. This has nothing right now. So tomorrow, I'm going to cut this extra leftover piece from that sheet of plywood to make 2 basically back panels here. Again, I'm doing this because I don't really want to purchase 1/4 inch plywood if I don't have to. I have leftover wood, let's use it. We can make it work. And then once that's done, I think I'm gonna sand all of these cabinet boxes and also the cabinet doors tomorrow. That way they can all dry before we try to hang them on the wall and get them all situated. So that's all for today. I'll see you back tomorrow, friends. Bye. Hi, sorry in advance for how echoey it is down here. It is like empty. I decided to skip staining in the shop and instead I brought all the pieces here. I'm not gonna lie, I had a moment of panic for a second where I thought they weren't gonna fit. Like, that is it for the tolerance for these cabinets. So, whew, we're good. So I am going to hang these on the wall before staining. I just decided that might be a little easier. Then I can also get any filler pieces that I need to get in while I have stain pre-mixed already. So let's hang these cabinets up. Let's get the filler pieces in. Let's see how it looks. First step is to find the studs. Found one. Gotta find the center of the wall. So this part of the process was fairly easy. I basically just located all of the studs in the wall and then placed some spacers underneath the cabinets before attaching them together and then attaching them to the actual studs in the wall. And don't you worry, I also used a level to make sure that everything was level because the last thing you want is a crooked TV, am I right? Okay, That's enough space underneath for lights. Yeah, we're putting lights. And to clean and to still fit a 4 foot tall TV. Yeah, I like it. All right, let's stain. Personally, I've just found that staining custom built-ins after they have already been built into place is so much easier. So that is what I decided to do with this cabinet. And I am so happy I decided to go in that direction, because in addition to staining, I was also able to add some filler pieces to the ends of this vanity cabinet entertainment center situation as well, and make it look super neat and stain that in place too. Get some filler in that later, but looks good to me. Does it look good to you? Are you as hungry as I am? Ready for dinner? Let's see, we're ready for dinner. See you tomorrow, friends. Excuse me, we have a cabinet hanging on the wall. We have everything stained, it's looking good. And the next part of this project is the countertops. I am so excited about this because I'm gonna be making lightweight concrete countertops. And yes, I know that sounds like an oxymoron, and that's because it is, but I figured out a way to basically make this look like a fake poured concrete countertop without all that extra weight. And I am so excited to get started on that. So let's get started, friends. I knew that I really wanted a concrete top for this floating entertainment station, but I also know that concrete can be very heavy, so I opted for a lighter weight solution using some wood and some cement board. I have a secret weapon for cutting this cement board. Check this out. Cement board is like notoriously hard to cut through. In fact, you kind of need a special blade for it because it's so dense, but I found a secret weapon. It costs about $16 at Home Depot, and it is this carbide jigsaw blade that is specifically made for fiberboard, cement board, plaster. It is great. This thing is gonna make cutting through this cement board so much faster and so much easier, and we're gonna get this done in probably about 5 minutes, so let's do it. Woo. Nice. Please fit, please fit. Yes. It already looks really cool. So in order to make this look like a solid concrete poured countertop, I had to add some 2x4s to the top of the cabinet, and then I screwed the cement board into those 2x4s to make it look thick like a typical concrete countertop. Now, once that was done, it was then time to just fill all of the cracks and the holes in the cement board. And I did this by using some mesh drywall tape and also my secret weapon, some feathering cement. Now, feathering cement is really cool because you kind of can put it on in layers. You have to work with it pretty quickly though, which is why we're kind of jumping in here, because as I was mixing it, I forgot to press record and was like freaking out that it was going to set up really fast, because you can only really work with it in like 10-minute increments before it dries. So anyway, I used that feathering cement to just hide all of those mesh seams, let that dry for about an hour, and then came back and added a full first coat of feathering cement to the entire top of the countertop. Don't have to worry about it being too neat because this is going to get sanded down and a second coat is going to be added later. If I could change one thing though, I wish that I used an actual corner bead on this project instead of mesh tape at the very edge of the countertop, but I was able to shape it later. I just feel like it just added a little extra work. Also, peep me pulling the drywall paint off with the painter's tape because, you know, smooth. Good thing the sponsors of this video have a spackling product. So this feathering cement only needs a couple hours to dry, but I did leave it overnight, and as you can see after the first coat, it was looking rough. So in order to get it to look better, I decided to take some time the next day to just give it a very light sanding with 120 grit. I did use a powered sander here attached to a vacuum to cut down on the dust that was going to fly around the basement. And once I was done with the sanding and making it basically as smooth as possible, I then moved on to adding a second coat of the feathering cement, which was a much like liquidier coat. I don't think that's a word. It was more liquid. You know what I mean. It wasn't as thick. Anyway, I applied it the same way as I did the first coat and let it dry overnight, and also gave it a good sanding before it was time to seal. Morning, back at it. Check this thing out. Top is dried. I just wiped it down with a microfiber cloth. There are a couple things here that we gotta tackle. First and foremost, I wanna start sealing the top of this. It probably could use another coat, but I kind of like how not perfect the top looks. I think if we did one more coat, we would lose some of the character in the top. Other things, so when I was pulling away the painter's tape, unfortunately, I pulled away some of the paint, which is real annoying. So I'm gonna have to patch that. But I think what I'm gonna do first is let's get some sealer on here because it needs 2 coats of sealer. And then I'm going to tackle some other things like getting the doors on and some finishing touches. We're gonna multitask today and we're gonna get this thing done today. So excited, let's do it. So for the sealer for this countertop, I actually used the same sealer I used on the floor of my workshop because I like how durable that sealer is. But as always, I will link everything I use for this project in the video description below if you're interested in checking it out. All right, well, first coat dries, I'm going to drill the hinge holes into these doors. I put down a towel on the floor so I don't scratch the front of the cabinets, but someone just decided they would like for that to be the place that they hang out. Did you steal my spot? I guess I gotta get another towel. BRB. So after doing some serious negotiation, I got my towel back and was able to start drilling the holes in the back of the cabinet doors for the cabinet hardware. This is actually a really awesome jig. I'll link it below in the description with all of the other tools and materials, but every time I've ever used this, it has made installing cabinets a breeze, and sometimes I think that is the most intimidating part of making cabinets, to be honest. This just takes the guesswork out. So anyway, once I got that hardware on, it was time to actually install the doors to the cabinet. And I also actually installed the cabinet door hardware as well after doing this part, and I used a cabinet door hardware jig for that, where I just lined up the holes with the cabinet door and installed the hardware. I do a little more of an in-depth tutorial on some other projects on my channel about installing doors and hardware and all that good stuff, so I will link it below this video along with everything else I said. I link below this video for you to check out if you're interested in learning more about building cabinets and installing hardware. Now, once all of the doors were installed and it was looking pretty good, it was then time to work on all of those little final details to make this thing look professional, including filling all of those gaps in between the wall and the cabinet using DAP's Alex Plus caulking. I also needed to tackle all of the spots where the paint ripped off the wall when I tore the painter's tape away, so I did this using some DAP Dry Deck spackling, which goes on pink and then dries white, and then that tells me that it's ready for paint. And I was actually able to paint over both of these products in the same day, so that's a win. I got some patches drying, all of the hardware on. I want to put LED lights all along the bottom of this cabinet, but this is the best outlet to plug them into because it's gonna be behind the TV, you won't see it. So I got this cord management kit online, and it actually is really great. It comes with a hole saw as well. So I'm going to drill a hole here, and then the cord management system is gonna travel down the wall into this cabinet, and that's where I'm gonna plug in the LED lights. So I'm excited. Drilled a cable management conduit down there so that now it goes up through the wall to plug into there. And then I drilled a hole into the side of the cabinet with a grommet, and then I put the sensor up higher just so, I don't know if it even matters, but the sensor's up there, it wires out, and then it's gonna snake through the bottom of the cabinet, and now I have to just peel tape off and tape it to the bottom of the cabinet. And then we'll have LED lights. Let's make sure this works. Hold on. Let's see if it'll reach the sensor. Oh, and it does. Beautiful. Even reaches up here. Love that. Let's get that under the cabinet, do some touch-up paint, and call this a project. true. It works. It works. I am so excited about this project. It has been a while since I've been able to build furniture. I've really just been focusing a lot on building out my shop and home reno, and the furniture builds I've been doing haven't been big, beautiful built-ins. And I'm just really happy that I got a chance to finish this one up, especially since the basement has been such a labor of love. I really cannot wait to start turning this into a training space and a home gym. It's gonna look so cool. So cool! I'm not gonna lie, this actually was originally supposed to be 2 videos instead of 1, but after really looking at the 2 videos separately, I just felt like this entire cabinet build needed to be one cohesive project and one cohesive vision, and I really feel like it came to life in the best way possible. Again, I want my builds to be approachable and fun, and this one felt exactly like those 2 things. So if you agree with me, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. We will have more projects coming up soon, as per usual. Also, a big announcement is coming soon, so please make sure to click that notification bell and stand on by for that. I cannot wait to share what I have coming up with you next, and I also can't wait to share this entire basement renovation with you as we continue to journey on. In the meantime though, friends, thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. Thank you to my amazing sponsors at DAP for helping this vision, and lots of my visions on this channel come to life. Couldn't do it without them or you. I will see you soon with another project, but until then, friends, happy DIYing.